Hey guys, TKC here, TheKaijudoChannel, and today I'm going to be doing something quite different, a very analytical video, something very deep, very mathematical, and maybe even confusing for some viewers. So if you don't want to look at a lot of mathematical equations and statistics and stuff, I suggest you leave now. But basically this video is to analyze the Evo Fury set as a draft set and basically examine a bunch of different stats like the average level, the average power of attacking creatures versus blocking creatures, and stuff like that, and basically to get a better grasp of how you should be drafting Evo Fury. And along the way, I'm going to be comparing Evo Fury to base set, which was quite a balanced draft set, and I'm going to be comparing it to this small 60 card set, and there's going to be major differences between the two that you'll be able to see. So I decided to make this draft analysis video basically because I heard that Earth Power and the gang are going to be doing a draft this weekend for Evo Fury. I don't know if they said it was going to be sealed or actual draft, but hopefully it's a draft because this is what my video is going to be covering the most. But I guess it could also work for sealed as well, just to give you an idea of how this format is going to be like. So let's first start off with a little bit of math here. Basically, the frequency you will see a card in a 4-player draft, for example. So all these stats are assuming that it's going to be a 4-player draft and each player is opening 5 packs. So 5 packs of 9, 45, times that by 4, 180 cards total in a single draft. So right next to me right here is a table demonstrating how many times you'll see a certain card and a certain rarity appear in a draft on average. At the very top, you'll see most likely 5 of a common card in one draft. So example, like these blockers over here, these small level 1 blockers, you will most likely be seeing 5 of each in a 4-player draft on average. Then we go down to uncommon, and uncommon it's 3.3839, so somewhere around 3 per draft. Then we go to rares, and it's a bit over 1 per draft. And then for varies and supers, we have probably 1 of each vary card at most in a draft, but it's like 0.91, so you're probably only going to see 4 of them. And then for the super rare, it's 0.42, which means that you obviously won't be seeing all 5 in a draft because you're only going to be getting 2 or 3 at most. So for that reason, you'll only be able to see each super rare 0.42 times. So you'll be able to see it every more than 1 out of 3 times. Okay, so now that we got that out of the way, this is basically how the averages are calculated. So basically you would take these frequencies and multiply them by the amount of creatures in each rarity, and then just do a bunch of calculations, and bam, you get averages in each one. So right below me right here is a table comparing averages between the base set and Evo Fury. So let's just start with base set to give you an idea of what would be somewhat a balanced set. So as you can see here, the average cost is 2.87. So that's, a decent amount. It's a fair average, I guess. And then now there's 2 really interesting things right here. So now there's the average power of a creature versus the average power of a blocker. So as you can see here, the average power of base set creatures is roughly like 2,200 versus the average of blocker creatures in base set, which is 3,143.56. So and as you can see in the far right column, the difference is almost 1,000 power different. So when that happens, when blockers tend to be a lot more powerful than the attackers, that means that the format is a lot slower, and that means that the blockers actually have a bit more of an advantage over the attacking creatures. Meaning if you want to be able to get over these blockers, you're going to have to be drafting creatures with a higher power than 3,000, to go over the average, but you need to have more than half your deck more than 3,100, whatever. So you would want to have a lot more creatures in the 4,000 and up range so you could get over all the common blockers, common and uncommon, for example. However, if you look at Evo Fury stats, they're actually very, very different. So the average cost in Evo Fury is 2.73, which is about 0.14 less than base set. So the format is actually a bit faster because the cost of creatures are cheaper. And that's mainly due to these 5 right here, the 5 common cards that are all level 1. In base set, they really didn't have that many cards. They had Marrow Ooze, Thunder Cruiser, and I think they had one in every Civ but Nature or something like that. So it's very different because the base set has 180 cards and Evo Fury only has 60. So when you compare 5 out of 60 versus 4 out of 180, that is a very huge difference. Now, the thing that's really interesting is the differential between attacking creatures' power and blocking creatures' power, because in here, the attacking power is actually a lot more than the blockers. The power is average 2,752, which is like a good 500 more than base set's power, but the blockers' power dropped like 600 down to 2,539. Now, the difference here between attacking power and blocking power is actually advantageous to the attacking creatures, and that's not very common. Usually it's the other way around. Usually blockers have the upper hand because, you know, like the example, Jade Monitor is a level 3, 4,000, so they have more power than what their cost usually dictates for attacking creatures. But in here, there's really not that many blockers that go that high, and so the attacking creatures actually have the advantage over the blockers. So right here in my hand are the only 5 blockers in Evo Fury. Only 5. So 3 of them are common and 2 of them are uncommon. The common ones are these 2 that are just 1/2000 blockers, and this one right here, level 5, 4000, that bounces back to your hand every time it gets banished, like Aqua Commando, for example. And then in the uncommon side, you have the 2 mono creatures. This one already has blocker and only has 3000, but it jumps up to 6000 and draws you cards if you play mono water. And being able to play a mono color in a draft is probably the hardest thing you could ever do, especially in sealed. You know, going to draft, maybe it's possible, but in a 4-player draft, there's bound to be another person drafting the same color, unless, I guess, you're really lucky and you manage to get all water, and you could play this, and you're really awesome, because he's 6,000 power, and that's really good. And same thing for this. This doesn't even have blocker until you only have light cards in your mana zone, so this becomes, I think, a 3,500 when you have only light cards in your mana zone. So, to be honest, the only real blockers, considering that mono decks are going to be kind of impossible in draft, are these 4, and then you have these 2 at 2,000, this one at 3,000, and this one at 4,000, but it's level 5, which is pretty hard to play. Considering the average cost is 2.73, a lot more of the cheaper creatures are going to be coming out before that could even come out. So now I'm going to show you 2 graphs. The first graph that you're going to see right now is the level of creatures in 4 Evo compared to 3 Rise. So as you can see here, the blue line is 4 Evo, and it goes super steep at the very beginning. So about 25 of the cards in the 180 cards of the draft are going to be level 1 right off the very bat. And then we also have level 2 at about under 35. And then that's when 3 Rise kicks in and actually has a lot more creatures in the level 3 to 4 area. So this graph kind of just shows that 4 Evo is really quick and gets out a lot of creatures, level 1, level 2, level 3, in comparison to 3 Rise, which is most often 3 to 5. And so that's where creatures like these come in. So we have 2 uncommons here that are both evolutions, and they're ridiculous because they're both double breakers at very cheap cost. And both of these cost less than this card right here, which only has 4,000 power, by the way, and these both have a lot more. This only starts at 4,000 just to begin with, but it jumps up to 6,000, and then this one has 7,000 right off the bat, and they both double break. And then this card gives you mana too, if they manage to banish it. But that's kind of hard to do, considering there isn't really any removal in this set. There are only 8 spells in this set, and I don't think a single one of them can get rid of cards level 4 or higher, because there's Tendril Grasp and Aquatic Expulsion that I believe are both level 3 or less, and so that gives a really huge upper hand to this guy over here, because he can't be touched, except by like Helios Rings, tap it, and then kill it with something more than 7,000, which is quite rare. And I'll tell you why, because I'm going to show you this next graph, and this next graph is comparing the power of attackers and blockers. So in this one, you can see a huge abundance of 2,000 power creatures because it's like 42 out of the 180. That is literally a quarter of the whole thing. So, you know, the level 1 blockers, they don't look so bad because they could actually go ahead and block those 2,000 power creatures. However, then you go on to the next one, which is 3,000, and 3,000, there's like 30 of them. Compare that to only 10 2,000 power blockers, you're really not going to get too far because the creatures are just going to overpower you. And then let me just show you the Bronze Arm Sabertooth example again. So Bronze Arm 7,000, so if you want to somehow get rid of that, you have to tap it with Helios Rings, and then you have to find a creature that has more power than that, or equal if you really want to. But if you want to get it and not lose your creature, there are only going to be about 7 creatures in the whole draft, split amongst 4 players, that will have a creature that is more powerful than Bronze Arm Sabertooth. And remember, even though these are uncommons, the frequency that you'll see this in an entire draft is 3 point something. That means that on average, you will see 3 or more of each of these in a draft, meaning it's really easy to get these. So if you really don't have some sort of fast way to deal with these creatures, if you don't have them yourselves, then you're gonna have a very fun time. So in conclusion, Evo Fury is just so much faster and more powerful than its predecessor, which was Rise base set. And so this just leads me to believe that drafting Evo Fury probably won't be as fun as drafting base set, because base set has a huge card pool that's 3 times more Evo Fury, and they actually have a lot more balance. They have a lot more spells that can do things. They have a fair balance of costs, and blockers are supposed to be more powerful than the attacking creatures. And so all these statistics just prove that Evo Fury is not the best set to draft, considering it's just so fast, and basically whoever gets the fast creatures wins. So it's going to be pretty much rush. Whoever has the best rush deck wins. I could easily see games, you know, ending average like 6 or 7 turns per game, whereas a base set draft usually lasts at least like 8 or more. So this is my first time ever doing one of these crazy statistical videos, so if you like these kinds of videos, let me know and I'll be sure to do that more in the future with the newer sets that come up. And if you so happen to be doing draft with this set in the future, hopefully I gave you a little bit of insight as to how the set works and how it looks like and how it will probably play out when you do drafts yourself. And so you have maybe a slightly upper hand by watching my video and knowing that the format's really fast. So Earth Power CVH, good luck at your draft this weekend on Sunday, and hopefully you can use these tips to get first in the draft. Whether it is draft or sealed, whatever it is, wish you the best of luck. So expect some pretty cool analytical videos like this from time to time. Obviously there's only going to be one of these videos per set for draft, but I could also do some sort of analysis on the usage of different decks throughout a format. So like week by week, I can look at all the decks that are mostly being played in different places and just kind of give you maybe like a breakdown of what decks are more popular than others. And maybe if I even go a step further, actually check which decks are doing better than other decks. So anyways guys, have fun drafting or just flat out playing cards from this set at Kaijudo League this weekend or whatever day your Kaijudo League is. And hopefully this video helped you out if you're going to be doing drafts. Alright, TKC, signing out. See you later guys.